Welcome to the Back 9 Six-Pack with Mitch and Justin. Let's roll.
Hello and welcome to episode 26 of the Back 9 Six-Pack. My name is Mitch, joined as always by my esteemed colleague Justin. Unlike Zach Johnson and the boys, we're battling through a little sniffles tonight.
We are actually sick. Well, I was sick last week. You're dealing with it now. But we are actually sick. Not we didn't just lose 4 matches and blame it on that. So
yeah, why didn't you give me a heads up that like once kids go to school that I would just be sick like every other week?
Because daycares and schools are like a petri dish for every disease that we have in the general public. It's kind of hideous. It really is. Dude, I had hand, foot, and mouth like 8 years ago. Blisters all over my feet. Like I was a 25-year-old adult that had hand, foot, and mouth. It was awful. Awful. So consider yourself lucky it's just the sniffles.
God. All right. Well, I guess now's a really good time to go ahead and remind everybody, if you're listening, to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast.
Yeah.
And follow us on social media. We usually do that at the end, but let's get it out of the way up front here. All right. We're past.
Hold on. One second. There we go. I'm drinking for both of us tonight.
That was a worthwhile interruption for once. Thank you. We're in October. We're past kind of the bulk of golf season. The big events are behind us. You know, professional golf's winding down now into the fall. Felt like a good time to just kind of recap our own games for the year, how we're feeling, how we did to some goals. You know, just looking back, I guess. What I don't know, where you want to start with this? Let's start with our handicap indexes.
Yeah. All right. Let's do that.
I'll go first. I started the season at 7.6. Currently a 7.2, so we're slightly down. Low, I got to a 6.6 in May. Came out of the season, or started the season pretty hot in March and April. A bunch of rounds in the 70s. Started feeling myself, and then everything just wheels came off.
We talked about it. You usually play better in the later part of the year, not so much the earlier part of the year. And this year's been kind of flip-flop for you.
Yeah, I actually went back and looked at it. So I've got 21 rounds logged in my Gen account. My best round was a 77. I shot 94 twice, apparently. I think one of those was like a combo league night score, which that's not good either, to be blunt. And my average was 84.1. That was, all those numbers are worse than 2022. I don't know. Look, I didn't practice. Not once this year did I go to the driving range and just like hit balls or chip or putt.
I remember you saying that. You said, I mean, I think you usually get in some practice, but I remember you saying that about a month ago. You said you were like, I really haven't just like gone to the range and like worked. Heck, 2 years ago, you got a lesson. Remember, I sat there and watched it and get a lesson. So,
yeah,
little less activity on the practice area this year for you.
And look, the obvious correlation is we had our second kid, a lot more time at home, less time on the course, for good reason.
For sure.
But I think that's it. Like, there's so many rounds that I play where it was like the first like 6-7 holes are just like trying to figure out what the heck my swing is doing for the day, what I'm working with, trying to get loose. Straight up, like, I felt so much less athletic this golf season than I did last year. Like, I just felt uncomfortable.
Like from a flexibility standpoint, I guess? Is that kind of what you're getting at?
Yeah, just like I felt like my body just wasn't moving how I would expect it to.
Yeah, well, I was talking to our buddy Ryan this evening on my way back from Columbus, and my back problems. It was before we started this podcast, but there was a moment back in February where I actually drove over his house to use his gravity chair or gravity table or whatever you want to call it. Apparently he's dealing with some back issues. And I told him our goal next year is to work on our flexibility and work on our nimbleness so we can avoid. And I agree with you. I've actually done a lot in that area this year as far as stretching, But there's been times where I get on the golf course and I feel like I can't even make a full turn.
Yeah.
It's no way to play
Yeah, well,
golf.
we can be we can be accountability buddies then or whatever because that's one. We'll talk goals later in the winter as we get closer to the new year. Do some golf resolutions, but definitely one of mine is like I'm gonna focus on flexibility for next year, big time.
Yeah, yep, that's a good one. I mean, it's the easiest thing to do too. It's like 15, 20 minutes in your day. You stretch every morning. I mean, it's not asking that much. It's not like you got to drive to a gym to go stretch, right? It's super easy, and it's very, very, very good for your golf swing. So,
Yeah. Also, when just looking back through all this stuff I saw in 2020, I had 35 rounds of golf registered.
a lot less golf for you this year.
Yeah, 15 more rounds than each of the last 2 years combined, or not combined, but like each of the last 2 years. So, the pandemic, the one thing that we did do was get out there and golf. So,
Yeah, that's true. And maybe that was like artificially high. You know what I mean? A lot of working from home and stuff. So this might be like one of the first normal years you've had. Maybe. Is that fair to say?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so too. You want me to start with mine now?
Yeah, let's go through your index and all that. What's your golf story for the year?
So I started the year out at. So it's funny, like I went to Vegas last November. I was actually a plus at that point, like plus 0.4 or something like that. Vegas brought me back down to a 0. It was a rough go out there. So I started the year at 0. My low got to plus 2.7. I'm currently at a plus 2.2. I mean, the next year's Stampede is going to be the toughest of scenes. I have no idea how that math shakes out. We're either going to have to figure out how to make 5 or 6 birdies every 9 holes, or we're going to have to start the lobbying right now to get this thing played off the low ball, so I don't have to give up 5 shots a 9. So that's that. I'm gonna plead the fifth on my recorded rounds. I don't want to incriminate myself with anybody that listens to this podcast. You can take that for what you want. Is it deathly low, and I'm just plugging in really good scores, or is it just incredibly high, and I've gotten a lot better at golf this year? I don't really know what to tell you, so I'm gonna plead the fifth on that. Yeah, I again, with the body thing, I've done a lot more in that area as far as flexibility. Obviously, you can probably do more. I've had some back problems earlier in the year, but I haven't really had any. I've had some days where I've woke up and gone to the golf course, like on a Saturday or something, and been like I don't know what I slept on last night or how I slept, but the hip hurts. Tightness down my left or right leg. Like it was just kind of a mess. But yeah, that's pretty much my golf story. I mean, we can leak into, I guess, do you want to, you want me to go while I'm already going? I can tell you my best score, my worst score this year.
Yeah, go for it.
My best score was a 66. I shot that in June of this year. My worst score was in May, well noted in the U.S. Open qualifier at Coldstream Country Club. I shot 84 there, so almost a 20 stroke difference in best and worst score, which I think is pretty normal for an amateur golfer.
Yeah, mine was 17 shots different, so I'm right there with you.
That's what I said. It's pretty normal. It's pretty normal for an amateur golfer to have that big of a spread.
Oh, God. All right, well, we got best, worst scores out of the way. Let's do some more superlatives.
What was your? You said you had 17 shots between yours. What was yours? Did I miss that?
I've mentioned it before, but you're fine. I shot 77 was my lowest, and then 94 I did twice, which I think one of those times was a league night.
Oh, you did say that. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Best shot
Well,
this year?
actually, best shot this year. So honorable mention because it was the best score I made this year. I chipped in for eagle on 6 red. So didn't win a skin though. That was sad. Uh, but my best shot was also a league night. So on 7 white, I hooked it into the left trees because of course I did. And I had like the smallest gap, like right below, those trees on the left, like they're kind of like high, the branches are higher up.
Yeah.
So I had a small gap between that tree that was further ahead of me and then a tree to the right of me that I could try to like punch draw one up towards the green. It was probably like 140, 130 something yards, something like that. Took an 8-iron, punch draw, perfect contact, hit it to pin high, and made the birdie. So that was a shot of the year for me for sure. Like it was, the shot shape could not have been, it had to be like a, I don't know, 25, 30 yard hook on this thing to be able to pull it off and slide it. It was one of the best shots I've probably hit in my life, honestly.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I don't have that big of a hook in my bag anymore, so I'm pretty impressed by that. So, what's your worst shot? Go ahead and do your worst one.
Oh God. I have 2. One, I'll give this one the honorable mention. I think during the Stampede, I can't remember if it was either our second match or our last match, but on 1 white, I hit a T-ball like directly into Tractor Supply's parking lot. Like it didn't even like hit the road. Like, so I'm talking this ball crossed 4 lanes of traffic to the right of a golf hole before it touched ground. That's how far right that thing was.
That's pretty far right. Yeah. For those that don't know that, it's what's called the center of the fairway. It was 175 yards right to the center of the fairway, to be exact, probably.
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
It's at least like a 6-iron, yeah.
Fair enough. I just trying to put something visual, like, so an entire par 3 between you and the center of the fairway and where your ball ended up at.
Yeah, probably.
Okay. Just to give a visual if someone's never been to our course. Yeah.
So, that was pretty bad.
I didn't want to throw you under the bus there. I'm sorry.
No, I don't care. I'm the one that brought it up. That was really, really bad. The one that I think felt worse to me was, and I just sent the video of it tonight, and during our July 4th scramble, it's the 4-man best ball. We're on 7 red. I've got like a, I don't know, 50, 60 yard pitch shot into the green there.
Oh, yeah.
And I was watching the video tonight, just preparing for this podcast because you actually recorded the shot. And like, I can't even describe how far and how fast inside my club gets on this takeaway. And it is just an absolute like not even a shank. It's just like so thin. This thing went like 130 yards over the green instead of just like, just being like an easy casual pitch shot from like,
it was bad. It was very bad. Yes, it was not good.
I don't think I'm capable of
pretty good lie, by the way. Like, it wasn't a bad lie. It was actually a pretty good lie.
Yeah. I don't think I'm capable of shanking the ball because I can't hit it that close to the heel. Like, I physically can't do it. I hit it off the toe all the time. But that had to be as close to like hitting an actual shank as I could do.
Yeah, without actually like the direct lateral.
Yeah, without hitting it right off a hosel. Yeah, that had to be as close as possible to that. I did get up and down for par though.
You did, yeah, you did make par. I remember that. Yeah,
I had
that's a pretty good par.
Disgusting flop shot from like 30 yards over the green. Yeah, it was awesome.
Gosh. All right. Well, I'll start out with my best. I do have an honorable mention. I think this probably speaks when we start talking about what we need to improve on next year, like what we've been thinking about, like strengths and weaknesses. This probably says everything you need to know about my golf game. My honorable mention golf shot is a drive that I hit on 6 red this year. I mean, it was without hitting cart path, it was definitely the furthest I've ever been up. It was obviously wind aided, but I mean, I carried the creek down the right side, which is, what would you say, a 275 carry, like just to get over the creek. So I carried the creek and the trees, and I actually got back up into the fairway. I had about 100 and I think it was like 171 yards in. Never felt my driver feel that way. Like that's how good it came off the club face. So that would be my honorable mention. I will actually tell you this. So my best shot of the year came about 3 weeks ago. We were playing in the FOP, the Fraternal Order of Police, Butler County golf outing at our course. 6 red again. They're both on 6, which is funny. But this was a chip shot. We were actually short-sided on the left side. 10 was probably 5 or 6, maybe 5 paces from the left side in the back left. And you know how nasty that pin is. I hit a chip shot up, spun it out of the rough, barely onto the fringe, just trickled down right in the hole. Playing with my boy Brian, who's a member. He's been a member out there for, I don't know, probably 30 years or so. Maybe a little less than that, but he's been out there for a really long time. He's like, I didn't think it was physically possible to even get it close, and you knocked it in. Like, he's like, I don't know how good. I don't think you realize how good of a shot that was. And when he started saying that, I'm like, well, I knew it was a good shot. It went in, but it was pretty dead. And I'm not known for my soft hands. Glaring weakness in my game. I am not afraid to admit that. I get terrified if I miss a green. So for the weakness, for that being a weakness and like hitting that good of a shot, that was definitely my best shot of the year for sure.
Nice.
Worst shot, man. There's a lot to pick from because there was some pretty hefty rounds in there. I'm gonna go with, it's got to be from my worst round. So I'm trying to like backtrack. Let's start with honorable mention because I also did hit one in the Tractor Supply parking lot. Although mine didn't land on the westbound lanes, which is not as far right, but it did land in the road. And then it took a nasty hop right, and I saw it like bouncing into the parking lot. So I did that's honorable mention. I would have to say, it was just a punch out, but it was what happened before the punch out when I fell in the bunker.
Yeah,
I mean, that was whipped cream on a day that was just not meant to be. Falling in that bunker before having to pitch out from the top of a bunker was that was the lowest point I felt all year. And I remember talking to a few people, and they're like, it's May, like you can't let one round determine how your summer is going to go. But I will tell you, at that point in time when I'm rolling around in that bunker and I have to pitch out after rolling around in the bunker, it was the lowest of lows this summer for sure. And actually, it was a pretty shitty chip out, if we're being honest. Like I think I hit it like 12 yards. I barely got it over the next bunker. So, yeah, I think it was all like what happened that day wrapped into like where my drive was. I was like 40 yards right, and then falling in and then having to hit that pitch out, and it didn't go very well after falling in the bunker. I think that had to be maybe like the worst moment / golf shot of the year for sure.
Yeah, I'll throw an honorable mention at you just because we can't let this one go. What about the drive during the Stampede?
I was playing to the analytics, so
okay.
And it didn't feel like that bad of a swing. As crazy as that sounds, it did not feel like that bad of a swing. It really didn't. I tell people that, and they're like, I would say most people are probably going to say I'm crazy for thinking that, but it wasn't that bad of a swing. It wasn't a good swing, and it just it was a bad swing that got a worse break. And yeah, and maybe in the moment, if there was a third place, I'd probably give it to it.
Got it.
Thanks for bringing that up.
You're welcome. Man, I feel like I'm just like running through. There's so many shots that like maybe it's a good thing that we just have a short memory, right? Like I know I can't put specifics on them, but like I know there were some wedges I just laid the sod over on this year, like
Yeah,
completely
I
just like
mean,
new good rounds, like oh
they're not memorable though because if you like, we're amateur golfers, right? We do them all the time. I just don't think they're just so not memorable. Just because like if you might have 10 of them in a year, like you know, that's why I think. I will say I was trying to determine. There was a couple wedges I hit when I deemed that I was going through the wedge yips back in like early August, late July, but they were kind of that. Like they were chunks. They were like thin. Like it wasn't like I had the laterals, right? Like I wasn't shanking every wedge I had in my hand, but I just think those just blend in so much that it's like, I don't know. That's
yeah,
my take on it.
that's true. All right, well, let's get into. You want to start with strengths or weaknesses first?
Let's start with strengths. Why don't you go first? You just go start with your strengths.
Uh, I think I was able to ride a sustained hot putter for a long time this year. It kind of went away come August, but I've never once worried about my putting the entire season this year. Where the prior like 2 to 3 years since we've been members out there, I was like deathly afraid of these greens during the summertime.
Yeah,
And
your
this year was
putter.
different. It was like,
I can't tell you how many times I saw your putter save you this year.
oh yeah, like that's what terrifies me. Some of these high rounds and bad scores and just like big numbers. Like if I wasn't making putts, it would have been truly, truly bad.
Best
But
putter at the Elks right here,
thank you.
everybody.
Shout out,
Best putter
shout
at
out
the
Terry Benson.
oh. Oh, but you did. You putted. I mean, how many times did I see you hit a putt and I'm like, I wish the ball came off my putter like that. Like
Yeah,
you just roll a good ball and it's like, it's kind of like righties all think lefty swings are unbelievable. Like I think you're putting like every time the ball comes off your putter, I'm envious. I truly am. So
well, that's good because when we get to weakness, I don't think you're going to be envious of anything else in my games. So what did you feel like was your strength this year?
So before we came on, I was like, I do track stats, in the Gin app and personally too. Like if I don't put them in here, if I just put hole by hole or whatever, I'll tell you, your boy became a notably better putter this year. And I'm gonna look. When I first got at the Elks, same way with you. I was terrified of the greens, but I also wasn't a good putter. Like, especially like 10 feet and in. Like 10 feet and in, I was a horrific putter. Specifically, probably inside 5 feet, I was missing 3 or 4 around inside 5 feet. Like it was bad. Which in turn, I had a lot of 3 putts because while we all wish we could lag it up there to 6 inches and make it, and have a tap in, that doesn't always happen, especially in our greens. Like you're going to have a lot of 3 to 5 footers after a lag putt. But here's some stats that I kind of pulled. I had only 6% of the greens I hit, or just greens in general, were 3 putts the entire year. I think that's incredibly low. I can tell you last year I was at about 13%. So I pretty much cut it in half.
Yeah.
Last year I averaged about 33.4 putts around. I'm down to 31.5. I mean,
Okay.
if that's not a strength, to me at this point, that most people are like, that's probably an average putter, right? And it probably is. That's an average putter. But from where I was to where I'm now, I'm not nervous on the putting green. I don't feel like I have to hit it as close, which is always going to kind of free up your swing a little bit. I am still terrified of missing a green because I'm not a great chipper of the golf ball, but we'll get to that in a second. But I was going to tell you, I'm like, I hit a lot of greens in regulation, but I'm like, the putter seems to be, and I told, we noted it in the past show, like at our club championship, I missed 2 putts inside 10 feet the whole, like in 2 rounds. I mean, that to me, if you'd have told me that 2 years ago, I'd have told you there's no, like, I must have been like snorting cocaine or something and like riding high on some pixie dust, because there's no way I would have been able to do that 2 years ago. So,
yeah. Do you, is there anything you can like think you can attribute that to, or is it just?
I'll tell you, one, the putter. I committed to that putter 2 years, almost not quite 2 years, maybe a year and a half ago. Went to heavier weight.
Which one is it?
This is the Phantom, the 11.5.
Okay.
Went to heavier weights in the bottom of it. So I have 2 35-gram weights in the bottom. It's a heavy putter. But
Yeah,
I think with that, coming from a Newport 2 with no weights, a pretty old putter that's really, really light, I think the weight helps me keep my hands on plane. I would attribute a lot of it to that. And honestly, like, I don't go hit balls a lot anymore. I go putt. Like, there's a lot of times I don't have time to hit balls. Like, I just, like, if I can get 45 minutes of putting in before league night, like, that to me is a win. So I would say definitely more practice. And then I attributed a lot to that putter. Going from a blade to a mallet was not a move that I was particularly fond of, but I was putting so poorly at that point. I'm like, I've got to do something. And I haven't switched yet. So
yeah, so to that point too, I was on the putting front. Just in general, you should get fit for your clubs, but I was shook by how different like getting fit for my putter made things for me. I last year got fit for it and bought it new. I've been playing a 2-ball Odyssey 2-ball, like 35-inch with, like, I don't know the difference in the shaft types, but it was a face balance, right? So it didn't have any toe swing in it.
Yep.
And so Sean fit me for it this year, and it's a 2-ball, the 2-ball 10, so one of the newer Odyssey putters. But it was 33.5 inches, so I took an inch and a half off, and I've got like the medium toe swing to it.
Yeah.
And it's like completely changed my setup to putter and like confidence with the putter, everything. Like, I think it's made a huge difference for me on the greens too. So
yeah, I remember you saying that. I don't think I've never gotten fit for a putter, and probably says a lot about. But you're not, like, you were the first one that told me that. But I know a couple people that have gotten fitted for putters since you told me that, and they said the same thing. Like, you'd be surprised at how much goes into it, and I think everybody's got a 35-inch putter, and realistically, like, maybe you don't need that. Like, if you're not, you're pretty tall. I mean, but if you're like someone that's 5'7", you have no business having a 35-inch putter. Like, no business.
Yeah. I mean, I thought for sure, like, maybe I could get away with 34.5 or 34 at the shortest, but he was like, no, dude, like, you kind of stand over it and your arms are long, so you need the shorter one. And it's been, like, I just hit so many more putts on line than I used to, basically, is what it comes down to.
That is truly one of your talents, is, like, you don't always hit, like, the perfect putt, but, like, if you say you're going to hit it somewhere, it typically is on the line.
Yeah, that's...
it might not be the right read, but it's online, so...
Yeah, for sure. All right. Weaknesses. I'll go first. Look, there could be many. This year, I feel like my floor stayed about the same, but, well, maybe that's not true. Ceiling stayed about the same. The floor lowered for me. Like, there were so many blow up holes. Like, I'd have a couple doubles and a triple like every league. I would shoot like 42 with a triple and 2 doubles. Like, that was just like the story of my league season, basically. And I I couldn't like pinpoint one thing because it would be like, all right, say the driver's not working. Like I'm waffle housing everything. I put the right miss into play, like whatever. Or the irons would be like just inexplicably like I'm hitting fairways and then I've got like 140, 130 get pitching wedge in my hand and just missing the green by like 20 yards, like just pulls, pushes, whatever. So truly just like consistent ball striking is what I am lacking. And not even just like consistent ball striking, but like I just need to like have a go-to. I gotta eliminate one side of the course. I have to get back to eliminating the right side of the golf course. That has to be my first priority.
That truly is one thing that I noticed about your golf game this year is, your miss was always left, but there was multiple rounds this year where you had left and right misses going, and that's just, one, it's not a fun way to play golf, and two, it is a very hard way to play golf. If you have one miss, you can kind of aim and compensate for that, but if you have it going both ways, it's not fun.
So it was just, I mean, if it was clicking for me, I actually had pretty good rounds this year. Like I plenty of times had like legitimate chances during league to like, to break par even. And just the other times was like, I'm basically balling pocket for 4 holes.
Yeah.
So I need to practice when it comes down to. I just have to hit balls. I have to fix my plane. Looking at that video again tonight, I'm disgusted. It just how the takeaway is so far inside, so fast. I gotta find some consistency in the golf swing that I can feel comfortable going to.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody's gotta have that shot they go to. He's stepping up in a moment where you gotta hit a golf shot and you don't know whether you're gonna cut it or draw it. That makes it tough. Like, I know in years past, like if you had to hit a golf shot, you stepped up there and hit, a tight little draw.
Right.
But yeah, and that probably comes with, like you said, getting more consistency in the golf swing probably is going to help you tighten that up a little bit.
Yeah, and I think it's just honestly like a lot of it was reps too, where like there's so many. Every round, basically, I showed up and it was like, all right, what do I have today? And then it's like I'm trying to fix something different every time. Like I'm just constantly looking for an answer to a different question instead of just committing to something. So especially when you don't have practice time, like you have to at least be able to commit to like one thing. I can't be like trying to do all this different stuff all the time. And then I think part of it too goes back to what we talked about with like the flexibility and all that stuff. Like my body just did not feel like I could swing a club some rounds this year. So the combination of those two things, I think, are just that's what I'm working on this off season and into the spring.
For sure. Kind of hinted at my weakness already is my wedges. And it's not just around the green. Like, I've realized I got on a monitor it's probably like 3 weeks ago, and I realized that what I actually hit my wedges, meaning like, I've always told you, like, no full swing wedges. Like, I don't ever take a full swing wedge. Pitching wedge down to a 60, like, I just don't. Like, can I hit a 60-degree wedge 100 yards? Yeah, sure I can. Do I ever try to? No, I do not. But with that being said, like, I've realized I've kind of had I have a gap, which probably not helping my cause with the wedges. So I'm gonna switch to, like, right now I'm at like 52, 56, 60. Next year I'm gonna buy new wedges. I've already ordered them. Please don't. I hope Danielle does not listen to this episode. I have already ordered them. But I'm switching to a 50, 54, 58. I think that's going to be better for. It's going to be better for my. It's going to be better for my gap, and the gap was between my 52 and my pitching wedge.
Yes. Yep.
I don't really like hitting my 52 further than 120 yards, just for purposes of like too much spin.
Yep.
But these new irons, man, like I've had my irons for like 3 years now. they're not like old irons. Like it's really hard to finesse them, especially like any cavity back. It's very, very hard to finesse something that goes 140 yards down to 125, right? So I'm hoping that gap kind of closes a little bit. But just wedges in general, like I'm not good. I'm not nearly what I should be for where my handicap is from 100 yards and in. I'm just not. Like I did have a hole out this year, but what were you saying?
I was going to say I've told you I've mentioned that to you several times. I know you know it obviously because you're saying it now, but like just watching you play, and I'm like, especially on our golf course, like where you're playing from all the time, like I can't even describe to you like how it's almost like I want to tell you not to hit driver, which is taking away probably your biggest advantage because you'd be better off if you were, 20 yards back hitting 3-wood.
Well, and so I thought about that sometimes, but then I'm like, I have rounds where I hit wedges really good. It goes back to consistent. Like, I mean, obviously we're amateur golfers. Like, it's not going to be consistent. But like, when I say consistent, it wasn't like round to round. It was like month to month. It's like this month I'm hitting my wedges good. The next month it was hideous, and it's like I didn't, it was just bad. And so I have that trust, or like, I guess I just have that confidence, like, okay, if I just keep putting myself in these situations, like eventually I'm going to hit a good wedge. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But I can tell you, just in tournaments alone, my wedges cost me at least 15 shots over the summer. And like, we're not even talking about like, oh, I hit it to 15 feet instead of 5 feet. No, we're talking like missing greens when if at the very worst, I should be on the green. Anything better than that, great. But like, I was missing greens, like sculling them, chunking them, missing them left, missing them right. Like from, 100 yards, like that just should not happen. Considering I can hit I become a lot better long iron player. Like I can hit a 5-iron through a window is smaller than I can hit a 50 to 6 degree wedge through. And that's a problem for my wedges. So that's definitely the weakness that I'm just like, I've got to be better. Got to be better there. Like just, and I didn't even talk about around the greens, but I think that goes without saying. Like if I'm missing greens from 100 yards with wedges in my hand, like you can probably understand how bad they are around the greens. Like it's gotten better, but it's still not good. So
yeah, I get it. Oh, so another thing, we've talked about this too on this podcast. I feel like playing in scrambles and league and stuff has just broken my course management skills.
Yeah.
Like there's too many times where it's like just light myself on fire because it's like, oh, you're going to, this doesn't matter. You're just going for skins. And then next thing you know, you make a quad and you're shooting 45 and you feel bad about yourself. So I'm going to get back to the basics a little bit next year too, in terms of just like taking the big numbers out of play. I just want to see what that does for a season, committing to that, and what that does to my handicap and, my scores overall.
Yeah, I'd say scrambles do suck. Like I can always tell I start playing worse golf after playing in a couple scrambles just because it's not real life, right? Like, it's not real golf in the terms of like, you're up there like, oh, we got one in the fairway. It's like, all right, I'm going to swing hard at this. Like that just, you would never do that in a normal round. You're hitting drivers on holes that you would never hit drivers on. Like it's just, I agree, but it does take some time to kind of step back after playing in a scramble and like, okay, I need to, this is actually how golf is played rather than, trying to, scorched driver out there every hole. So.
Yeah. And it's like the league night stuff too, where it's like, what am I doing trying to like make a skin quotes from behind a tree on a par 4, like trying to hit like the perfect punch shot instead of just taking my medicine and then trying to get up and down for par. Like whatever. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
for
just dumb
sure.
stuff like that.
For
All right,
sure.
so beginning of the year, I think our first podcast, maybe even, we talked about golf goals. I had mentioned my only one for the year, and this is honestly for only setting one. I think this set me up for failure because my goal was I wanted my handicap to start with a 5. So I got it down, like I said, to the 6.6 as low as I got, and then it just went back up from there. But I never put anything in place to like actually achieve that. I think I just kind of assumed, well, when I joined the Elks, I was like a 12, and I've dropped a few strokes every year basically since. I think it'll just happen, right? Like, I'm just going to play better this year. It's just going to
Yeah.
happen.
Yep.
Well, that's definitely not the case. The closer you get down the single digit handicap path, like the margins are so slim, and being able to continue to drop and get closer to zero is like really difficult and actually takes work. So
Yes.
that goal was just like a failure to begin with. Like, it's just not going to happen for me by just going and playing. I actually have to work on some stuff and to make some progress. So that, as I look forward to next year, I'm going to try to map out some things I feel like I can do realistically to make this goal happen next year.
Yeah, and I think when you're our age, right, you got kids, you got jobs and all kinds of stuff going on, sports at this point. Like, I think it's about how you use your time and maybe not necessarily how much time you have. Because we're just not going to have that much time. And honestly, like, I'm living high right now on the hog when it comes to golf, but like my kids are just cusping into the world of sports. Like, it's going to get less and less and less. So I have already found myself, like I told you, like, oh, I've got like 40 minutes. Okay, well, that's enough to either do one of two things. Like, that's enough to hit balls or that's enough to chip and putt. And sometimes you have to decide, and like, I think it's more about how you use your time rather than like how much time you have, because you can get better in areas that will help you score better with a very, 30 minutes here and there or whatever. So,
Yeah, and I also think part of what we just talked about, like the fuck it playing style. Like, if I actually want my handicap to start with a 5, I can't just go out there and be like, oh well, I'm just playing for skins tonight and go shoot 47. Like, I need to actually have to follow. Like, I need to play golf like I'm actually playing for a score.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's tough. Yeah, specifically if you're trying to go from where you're at down, to a 5, and then once you get to a 5, if you're trying to go from a 5 to a 3, there's not a lot of room for 46s in that, right? Like, so that's yeah. I see where you're coming from with that. So that was your only goal. You said that was it.
Yep.
Well, I always do this. I had a decent amount of goals. First and foremost, I had a tough letdown last year in our city tournament. Played well the first day, did not play well the second day, missed match play. So that was like my major, like anything after that. Well, I guess this one and the next one. So anything after these first two, like to me, was going to be kind of icing on the cake. So I did qualify for match play. Got absolutely well documented, just smoked in match play. I mean, I wish I could say the kid played well. I mean, he played okay, but like I just played that bad. But I did make match play. I've never won our club championship. I hadn't played in it in the last 2 years. I've only played in it one time since being a member. I did win that this year. Win either the Stampede or McGonigal. I did not win either of those, so that was one that I didn't hit on. I have my finals in the match play this Friday, so that's currently outstanding. And then my last 3 were top 5 in our mid-am, our city mid-am. I did that. Shoot my age in 9 holes. I did that in our Stampede this year, and then break 67, which I said I did. I did that back in June. So really only missed on one. I do have a match this Friday, but I to me it was a pretty successful year. Like I said, after the first 2, anything after the first 2, I felt like was going to be just kind of icing. Those first 2 were pretty important to me. So
Nice. Yeah, so I did lie. I had three other goals, which were win our flight in the Stampede, did not do that. Win the Stampede, obviously didn't do that, and win the McGonagall, didn't do that. So
Don't like that.
yeah, don't like that. Title defense did not go well in the Stampede this year. So we're rededicating for next year, but yeah, all right. Well, I think that'll be a fun podcast we can do in the winter. Is let's actually set some goals and put some plans of action in place to have
Measurable.
successful for measurable. That's right.
As any good life coach would tell you, you got to have measurable goals. You can't just throw stuff out there.
Right. For sure. Okay. Well, I think that was pretty good. Do you have anything else to say about the 2023 season? It's been a long, fun road.
Well, again, I think it was the third time I've kind of documented. I think the coolest part for me is this year, I got the opportunity to play a lot of cool courses, and I think out of all the good shots and the bad shots and good memories and bad memories and all that, like, pretty thankful that I have the opportunity to play the courses that I get to play. Obviously, we love our home course. Hamilton Elks is I think this year was probably the best year as far as like conditions. I thought they kept it, really well. The greens were about as good as they've been since you've been out there, specifically probably as good as they've been since I've been out there. But just to get to play all the courses I've gotten to play this year, I'm going to keep posting pictures. I'm a picture taker when I get on the golf course, so I'll keep posting them. I've got a handful of courses I still want to like spotlight, but yeah, I think that was kind of my takeaway from 2023 outside of all the goals and swings and weaknesses and all that. So what about you?
Yeah, I think like I said, it was honestly a kind of a struggle this year. A lot of the times, like getting to league night, it takes me like an hour to get there when I'm coming from work and stuff, and just showing up and not really feeling it. So I don't know. I think something that's given me kind of a kick in the ass is my oldest son has just started to kind of like show a little bit of an interest in golf, where like he'll be out back chipping like practice balls into like a bucket, like stuff I used to do when I was a kid, and that gets me excited. And he kept asking me he wanted to go to the big course, throughout the summer, and I finally took him this past weekend, and just like being out there with him, and like it would take me, he'd take like 6 shots before I got to my next shot or whatever, right?
Yep.
And so like just being in the moment and like just watching him enjoy it and stuff is like, I don't know. I'm sad we're entering the fall now because it's got me really excited to play golf just by, watching him get excited about it. And I think that'll be good for me just as a motivator going into next year, is like, just like, dude, just go have fun. Like, it's not that serious. Like, it's really not.
It is hard. I think we all struggle with that, right? Like in the moment where you're like, fuck this game. Like, I'm so fucking tired of this game. I suck. This and that. I'm suck at this. I suck at that. And in reality, like if you think about the best times you've ever had on the golf course, maybe not even playing, but it's like when you're just like having fun, right? And and then you start playing better because you don't realize that you have no idea what's, how bad you're playing or good you're playing, and you're just out there having fun. And that's always something I think we can all work on. I've made strides in my anger department because I used to get very, very angry very, very quickly. But I think kids have helped me realize that too. Like, I always mention like when my oldest started golfing and she's getting into it more and more. It's like she didn't know what a good shot and a bad shot was. Like I would hit it and like it would go obviously to her like really high and really far. But to me, I'm like, oh my God, I just hit it 30 yards right. But she was like, oh my God, that's the greatest shot I've ever seen. Like, it's all perspective, right? Is kind of what I'm getting at. So,
yeah, I would be like standing over the ball, getting ready to hit, and he'd be like, Dad, you got this. And I'm just like, dude, I need you out here all the time. Just like,
right? Like, just like put him in the back of the golf cart and let him ride around.
Yeah, no. So I don't know. Like, it makes me excited to practice and stuff too. Like I said, it was some days this summer and stuff like for league, just showing up. Like I wasn't playing well, I was tired, whatever, with kids, new baby, not sleeping well, all that stuff. Small problems, I know, but like I wasn't that excited when I get to the golf course a lot. And next year, I want to be excited to practice. I want to be excited to play. I want to be excited about all of it. So that's what I'm going to dedicate to.
Hell yeah. Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right. I think it's time. Let's go to the patio. Anything goes on the patio. Thank you to our sponsors for Patio Beers segment. Miller Lite, great taste, less filling. My favorite beer. Mitch loves it too, whether he wants to admit it or not. So thank you to them. Do you want to go first? Or do you want me to go first? Oh, you went first last week. Let me go first. You went first last week. Let me go first. So speaking of cool weather, I am a noted. I hoard winter clothing. Because I love it. Like, there's nothing better than I love wearing shorts. Like, I wear shorts to work during the summer, unless I have like a meeting or something like that. But I do love shorts. But I will tell you this: I love winter clothing, like cool weather clothing. I've got a hoodie on tonight. But my question to you is, what is your favorite piece of cooler weather clothing? Could be golf, could be just in general.
Okay. This is easy question. Simple answer. Yeah. It a vest.
Oh, hell yeah. Vest is synergistic. That's what that is. I thought you were totally going to go a different direction. I'm like, I threw the softball in there. You just had to hit it.
No. We're hammered in the left field. We're out of the park right now. Vests are just like the best. I start wearing the second that it's like below 70, vest instantly.
Yeah.
And then it all the way down into the 30s. Like it's perfect. It's exactly what you need. You don't want to have, the sweater, it's bulky, it's sweaty, whatever. The vest keeps you warm and tight right here. Then you got the arms, freedom of movement, not sweating in the pits. Like, it's perfection.
Yeah, there's nothing better than a good vest. Like, I've got, honestly, probably too many, and that's coming from me, who is like I don't think I could have too many, but I definitely, I'm cusping on the having too many vests at this point, but I wear them all the time. And I tell this, I joke around, but I swear to God, this is why I wear them. Like, I am a notable person that gets hard nipples. And I can get them in 80-degree weather. That's just how I am. The vest really adds extra protection for my, for my nipples getting hard. It helps me not get so hard. So that's part of the reason I like vests. And then there's just so many different varieties. I got a bunch of different ones. You got the bubble, the golf ones that are like a little thinner, but they're still warm. Like, there's just so many varieties to it. I mean, it just is what it is.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you said that.
I'm with you. We're going to cut this. I didn't think your nipples would come up as a subject on this podcast at any point, but
hey,
that's
not just being honest. So
yeah, I have a reputation around the office where like people would like watching to see when the vest is going to come out for the year. Like, everybody knows it's like my go-to. I'll be in a vest it started probably 3 weeks ago. Won't be out of them until like June.
I was gonna say we've had some chillier mornings, so it's a good vest season has officially started. I think. Yeah, I agree with that. 3 weeks ago,
well, we're all the way back. Yeah,
I'd say honorable mention real quick: quarter zip hoodie. If we're talking golf apparel, like a little zipper here, but with a hoodie. Yeah. Those are all pretty fantastic too. I've got a decent amount of those.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of like long sleeve stuff that's like lightweight or like medium weight, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So anything like that I'll be in it all winter long.
Yep.
All right. This one, shout out to Susie. She sends me a lot of my Patio Beers questions. So here's this one. I think she saw this on Instagram or something and passed it my way. If someone told you they saw me arguing with someone in the street, what would you immediately assume I was arguing with them about?
Oh man. Mine went a couple different directions. God, I want to put you on blast.
Do it. It's the patio.
I want to put you on blast so bad because this has not been brought up. But I think you would be arguing, defending your side of having, I don't know, if I can count on one hand, probably 3 different favorite college football teams. You would find a way to defend that.
Oh my God.
That's what you would be.
Yeah, I'm going to defend it.
I told you. I said, "Did you want me to put you on blast?" I said, "I'm going to put you on blast." That's what you'd be arguing with someone about.
Look, my problem is all of my brothers-in-law, they all play football, all right? And specifically Joe is to blame for this because he played football at Michigan and he's coached at like 5 different places since. So I've got a t-shirt from, I don't know, half the Big Ten or whatever at this point, at least. Like, we're talking all the way, we're coast to coast at this point. I mean, we're in the Big Ten. We've been to the Pac-12, been to the Big 12. Well, no, not the Big 12. AAC, I guess right now is where Tulsa is. Like, I'm all over the place. And then I've got, my other brother-in-law plays at Toledo, so we got some action. We got some
shout out Toledo Rockets, though. That's the only acceptable one.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, it's not my fault. I married into this. I got to support where my family goes. So,
unlike the life chose you, you chose this life. So,
I chose this life. Yeah, it's on me.
So what? So if this question for me, what would I be arguing about?
Why you should hit driver on 1 red? No.
I mean that's probably yeah. I mean,
I'm kidding. I did write down like either something Ohio State football or UK basketball related for sure. But honest to God, you could argue with anyone about anything. So it's like there's no wrong answer here. Truly,
there really isn't a wrong answer. I'm trying to think of what I've had to defend the most, like outside of golf. Yeah, probably sports related. Probably Aaron Rodgers related specifically, and honestly to a lot of Packers fans. That I know, like they're like super jaded. Obviously, he left and all that, or he wanted out and all that. But like the arguments out there that Brett Favre was better than him, and I'm like, you are absolutely high off your ass if you think that's the truth. But so that's mostly what I've argued about, like sports wise. But yeah, it'd probably be one of the. There's really not a wrong answer. That's a good way to phrase it.
Also on the list is probably why Zach Johnson should have been the captain for the U.S. Ryder Cup.
No, I'm done defending that horse.
I'm trying to think of some other things. You probably would be out there arguing why David Duval is better than Tiger Woods somehow.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, look, like he at least dressed better than Tiger Woods. We can all agree with that. With those Oakley sunglasses. God, you're gonna. Yeah, I'm getting heated thinking about some of these arguments, and I haven't even had them yet.
I know. I'm telling you, they're all sports related right now. I know there's more, but those are at least a few that came to mind.
There's so many that I just like. I don't want to get myself in trouble again, but so I'll plead the fifth on the rest of them that are going through my head.
Fair.
Well, I think that about
all right. Well, that was good. That does it. Yeah, we went 2 hours last week. We're due for a shortened version for the people out there. Back to our roots, talking about our golf, getting to the patio. You know how we do.
Yeah, I don't think there's no PGA Tour golf this year or this week. I don't believe.
I don't know. I
Sanderson
know the
Farm.
Sanderson was
Sanderson Farm. I didn't watch it, but I saw that there was a 5-person playoff, which is just awesome. By the way,
yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's any PGA Tour golf. Just a lot of football from here on out, which I'm A-okay with.
Same. Yeah, this is kind of optional golf season here. Once you get past, Ryder Cup or whatever here in the fall, I'll see you in January. I'll tune in when it's Hawaii time.
Yeah.
Unless Tiger's playing. We might get Tiger at the Hero World Challenge or something. I'll watch that for a bit.
He was out playing the hay course this weekend with Charlie, so
saw that.
We might see it come back. Maybe. I don't know. But sources said that.
Yeah.
Sources. And one more very important thing. Turkey Open, Black Friday. We are going to do some kind of tea gift, something small. I'm going to say this in public so we hold ourselves accountable to it. We are doing a small tea gift.
All right, we better get in the kitchen on that then, because who knows what the shipping times are going to be.
Yes, but Turkey Open, 6-6-6 format, 6 alternate shots, 6 best ball, 6 scramble. Awesome time. No weaklings. We play when the course is open. So you can't sign up thinking it's going to be 50 degrees, and then if it turns out to be 35, you text me the day before saying you're not going to be there. It's always a good time. Presented by the Back 9 Six-Pack this year.
Well, yeah, presented by the Back 9 Six-Pack. We'll actually get that out this week. I failed. I did not get you the document, but I'll have it for you this week.
It'll be out. Yep, for sure.
All right. On that note, have a great week, everybody. Hey, I'm heading to Siesta Key this weekend, so we got to figure out next week's show. But
and I'll be in Fort Wayne on Monday, so we're really gonna have to work something out. So,
all right.
But other than that, see you guys later.
Awesome. Cheers.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Back 9 Six-Pack. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Back 9 Six-Pack for all your content needs. We'll see you guys next week. Cheers.